Geography is about the world, our world, the one we live in. People in all humanity's diversity and the different environments we inhabit. Geographers study how the earth shapes us and we, in turn, shape the earth. In geography, we ask questions about the place we live in. In this unit, Water in the World, we ask, how does water connect us? How does water connect one individual to the rest of humanity and the planet? Why is water so important? Why are the rivers we live near so valuable? And what impact do our actions have on the river? In our home, Perth, a bustling city glittering in the sun, stretching out along a coastline of brilliant blue, sparkling ocean, the river, fat, wide and estuarine, is lined with expensive houses and links the city with the sandy shores. To the east, Perth is hugged by the hills, green and tree-covered granite boulders with views out across the Swan coastal plain to the distant blue. It's here that the river starts. Trickling down the granite hills, forming creeks, comes the water, connecting the distant inland with the coast. The river seems to divide the city north and south. Networks of straight and narrow roads crisscross the plain, but the river, in its meandering, snake-like path, connects us across time and space. The river starts its life near Wickepin as the Avon and becomes the Swan at Wollonga National Park. The Swan-Avon River is 280 kilometres long and has a total catchment of 125,000 square kilometres, so activities very far from Perth impact on the river and are a part of the history of the Swan River. The river and its connected water bodies and land is valuable for many different reasons. Let's consider one spot along the river, near our home. In the first place, the interpretive signs here at Woodbridge Riverside Park tell us that the Swan River lands are inhabited by the Noongar people. The river, referred to as Durable Yerrigan by Noongar people, and its freshwater swamps and wetlands provided an abundant food source. The Swan and Canning rivers and their tributaries hold great significance to the Noongar people because they were created by and sacred to the rainbow serpent, or Woggle. Elders taught that the Woggle created creeks, waterholes, lakes and valleys on its journey to the ocean. It emerged at Mount Eliza, Kings Park, and making its way to the sea, created the river. The Swan River is believed to be the track and resting place of the Woggle, who not only created it, but remains ever present within it, as evidenced by the flow of the water. It is believed that one of the resting spots on his journey was near here at the bend in the river between Woodbridge and Guildford. The Woodbridge area is part of a traditional network of communication routes and occupation camps. Noongar people trace these routes based on their proximity to water. The Noongar believe that Blackadder Creek was formed through the creative activity of the Woggle, who still lives there. A corroboree ground was located on the eastern bank of the Swan River near its junction with the Blackadder Creek. In the 1980s, near here, stone artefacts were found which are believed to be around 40,000 years old. The artefacts are believed to have been hand implements like scrapers and other tools. Bulrush can be found along the Blackadder Creek and is believed to be the hairs of the Woggle, an ever-present reminder that the Woggle still occupies the river, protecting the Aboriginal people of this area. A Guildford resident, interviewed as part of the Swan River Trust study of the Indigenous history of the Swan and Canning rivers, said, "Without water, we can't live. The water and the river was so important to the Noongar people because it supplied fish and geogies and crabs and all sorts of things for people and water, and it made an abundance of life there, the birds and so forth. It was part of that complete circle of life. Without it, the Noongar people could never have existed. And a very special place too, always special, because the Woggle made all these places, and that's the law that we follow." When Captain Stirling and other Europeans first arrived in the area that would become the Swan River colony, they too saw the importance and beauty of the river. Standing at the junction of Ellenbrook and the Swan River, Stirling wrote, "The richness of the soil, the bright foliage of the shrubs, the majesty of the surrounding trees, the abrupt and red-coloured banks of the river occasionally seen, and the view of the blue summits of the mountains, from which we are not far distant, made the scenery around this spot as beautiful as anything of the kind I had ever witnessed." Soon after, in September 1829, Governor James Stirling took up a 4,000-acre land grant in the Swan River colony. His estate extended from Guildford to the Darling Ranges, including parts of the Swan and Helena rivers. He named the area Woodbridge as it reminded him of his wife's family property in England. The land was considered some of the best in the colony. When he left in 1839, Charles Harper took over and developed a productive sheep, dairying and orchard property. During the development of Midland Town in the early 1900s, the council acquired a stretch of land here at the Woodbridge bend of the river for public bathing and recreation. They called it the West Midland Pool. Despite the urban environment that we have built around the Swan, the river has been and remains a valuable habitat for diverse plants and animals. The Swan River supports numerous species of aquatic and land animals as well as bird life. Bream, jellyfish, crabs, prawns, heron birds, black swans and pelicans are all common species in this area. Dolphins have also been observed in the Woodbridge part of the river in search of larger fish like mullet. The southern wetland around the river is affected by tidal movements, creating seasonal saltwater pools which provide a rich habitat for flora and fauna. Low-lying areas fill up during high tides and allow fish, turtles, frogs and other creatures to swim into the wetlands. Swamp she oak, which grows here, is a spiritual tree to the Aboriginal people. It's known as the whispering tree or tree of judgment, as it's believed to whisper to you and tell you who has not been abiding the law. The iconic Swan River is a major part of our lives here in Perth. It is a vital recreational and social feature of our city and a great tourist attraction. The river is one of the things that makes us proud to be West Australian. We value the river as a place to relax, play and enjoy life, whether that be taking in the views of the river from Kings Park while enjoying a picnic, exercising on the river foreshore, cycling along one of the many cycle routes, hiring a surf cat, or kayaking, canoeing, enjoying a river cruise, sailing, jet skiing, trying your luck fishing for mulloway, tailor or black bream, or just walking your dog in the afternoon here in Woodbridge. The Swan Avon catchment creates fertile land near the banks of the river and throughout the Swan Valley. The use of the water in the catchment for agriculture like wineries and the tourism they attract makes the area economically valuable. More than 1.5 million people now live in the wider Swan Canning catchment area. Everyone has a story to share that connects them to the river, and yet the seemingly clear, sparkling beauty of the Swan River masks a river under stress. The high level of nutrients is a major issue. Excess nutrients from a range of sources drive algal blooms and, together with low oxygen conditions, cause seasonal fish deaths. These problems are made worse by erosion and sedimentation, the altered river flow, and with dredging, the loss of fringing riverine vegetation. The effects of climate change in the form of reduced rainfall and stream flow and increased intrusion of salty water into the upper reaches of the river will increase the river's vulnerability, affecting the health of the valuable ecological area that is our playground. The river is in danger from the very people who love it, use it, and value it. Us, the residents of Perth. How can we protect it? What solutions exist to reduce our impact on this valuable ecological area? What will you do to ensure the health of the river for future generations?
Look out for the river, here it comes again to drown our town. I'll try and set the water on fire, but I'd only let us down.